Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I thought I'd do a little bit of a discussion and a talk about the issues with importing lenses from other regions. Now, if you don't know what a grey import is, basically it's buying a lens, for example, like we have here, which is coming from a different region. Now that other region might be Australia, America, Asia, Hong Kong, possibly Eastern Europe. The problem you're going to experience is with UK customs, or any other country's customs for that matter. What you need to take into account is when a lens gets delivered to you. There is always the possibility, or a very good possibility, they will not have paid any sort of tax, VAT or import duty. Now this is a Mark II, quite a popular 100 to 400mm lens. Now it's retailing at Amazon for about £1,800. Now you can import this from America, from Australia and possibly other regions for £1,200. Now that is a saving. That is a saving of £600, which is quite a massive saving, you would have thought. The only problem you've got is any warranty you've got with this lens is void, in this country anyway. What you would have to do is post this off to whatever country it came from. For example, this has come from Australia, so you would have to post this back to Australia. They would have to repair it, look at it, communicate with you, possibly costing you extra money, because the international calls costs more money, and obviously you've got to pay for shipping there and shipping back. Now, as you can appreciate, something like this is going to cost you a fair bit in shipping charges. And at present, for a camera lens, your import duty is 6.7%, and the VAT amount is 20%. So let's do the maths. This lens costs £1,200, right? Basically, VAT is 20% of that. So let's say, for argument's sake, let's say let's say £225, something like that. And then you've got, on top of that, you've got import duty at 6.7%. So the total cost to import this is going to cost £336 for a lens worth £1,200. Yes, that is a big saving if you think about it. If you're saving £600 buying this lens in the UK, half of what you've saved, even if you pay the import duty and the tax, you're going to make a significant saving, over £200 savings. The only problem is, if something goes wrong with this lens and you have to send it to Australia, it's going to cost you probably between £100 and £150 to get it sent there with insurance and back. Keep in mind, most carriers don't cover anything that's got glass in it, so if something goes wrong with the carrier firm, basically your insurance is worthless. So I just want to talk about what would happen if you went abroad with this lens on holiday. You wanted to take this lens to Africa to take wildlife pictures. Great, you might think. The only problem is, you go on holiday, you take your lens, you take lots of pictures, and you come back to your country, and then they say to you, then the import guys say to you, show us the documentation for that lens because we think you've bought that abroad. And if you've got no documentation, you will have to pay import duty on it. And unfortunately, that can be a problem, because obviously you might not have that sort of money lying around, you know. Imagine if you bought a 500mm L f4 lens, you know, worth 6 grand. You're going to have some major bill for that if you can't prove that you've paid your tax and VAT. What you've got to remember is when you buy a grain pot from one of these cheap companies that sell on eBay, on Amazon, the problem you've got is they're getting the lenses and cameras on a pallet. A lot of the time they're actually slipping through customs, so they're not paying any VAT or import duty on the equipment they're selling to you. So you, as far as you're concerned, you're buying it from them in the UK, possibly. They might have a warehouse. An example was this was delivered from Manchester, you know, not too far from West Yorkshire where I live. However, you've got to keep in mind that if you go abroad and you come back, they're going to be asking for proof of purchase, such as a VAT receipt. These companies have got them delivered on pallets, haven't paid any VAT or any sort of duty. So when they say they will provide you with an invoice, unfortunately that invoice doesn't mean it includes VAT or import duty. So you've got to weigh these things up. You know, are you prepared to pay VAT and duty if you're caught, basically? Because when the company doesn't pay the import duty and tax, who do you think has to pay it? Because the tax man won't go after the company, they'll go after you because you're the importer. So keep that in mind when you buy a grain pot. If you can, make sure the person that's brought it into the country has paid VAT and duty, because the last thing you want is to be landed with a bill. So I'm sending this back. Another thing you have to think about is the warranty. Now, as far as I know, Canon will honour basically grey imports under their warranty. They may choose to do so, possibly, but it is a risk to think about. You know, it might be worthwhile paying that extra just in order to make sure your warranty will be covered. The reason I'm returning this lens is I feel it's not as good focusing as I thought it'd be, and that's the reason it's going back. But I will think twice next time about buying a grain pot. For example, what you have to be careful about is companies that sell grain pots. Now, obviously there's a lot of importing companies online. If I think about a few that come to mind, such as First Digital, SLR, Digital Rev is one of the big importers. Obviously you know those lenses that are coming into the country are going to be grey imports, but what you probably don't know is bigger companies like Amazon have started to sell grey imports, and I think it started off with the third party marketplace sellers selling the grey imports, but then a few people had got a few grey imports coming from Amazon themselves. There is something you need to know. Canon is probably watching this at present and thinking to themselves, we'll see how it plays out, what happens. Basically, Sigma UK has decided to remove Amazon from their list of authorised sellers. So be careful and look on the manufacturer's list of authorised sellers. They tend to have a list, and just watch that list and make sure that your supplier or camera shop is on that list, because Sigma will honour the warranty as well if it's from another region. Basically, Sigma's own website states that it must be imported by Sigma Imaging UK, and they're authorised sellers. So keep that in mind. No matter what brand it is, Nikon, Canon, Sigma, Tamron, whatever the company is that's supplying lenses, just make sure they're legit, because the last thing you want to basically have to pay is a large VAT invoice and import duty cost, because as far as you were aware, you were buying it from a company that was supplying it from within your own country or within the EU, and then you find out that actually the lenses come from Australia. So be careful, guys. And that's what this video is about, just advising you guys to be careful, because the last thing you want to do is have a large bill come from Customs and Excise demanding you pay this for the import. Thanks for watching.